Welcome to this week's instantiation, whatever we call it, episode. That's probably a good word of PulumiVision, and that's what I've decided we're calling this. We've been going back and forth, trying to figure out what I wanted to call this weekly show. I was calling it Plumipus TV for a while. We did some polls, and I ignored all of them, and I've started to, in some of my graphics, just put the word PulumiVision, so that just sort of defaulted to that. So that's what we're going to be for a while. My joining me today is Layla from VMware and .NET expert, of which I am not either of those things, .NET or an expert. And we're going to just sort of have a little bit of fun. We're going to do some Pulumi with .NET, which if you've been tuning into my stream, that'll be new. We've been usually using TypeScript, and a lot of the stuff we've been doing Python. We haven't done a lot with .NET. So I'm excited to do that. We have, hey, Napalm684 is joining us. Thank you. And again, if you're coming in on Twitch, please subscribe. We really want to push people to follow us. Sorry, not subscribe. Layla was explaining the difference to me earlier. I even know better. Follow us on Twitch, because the more followers we have on Twitch, the easier it is for me to justify that we just do this on Twitch instead of all over the place. That's a different thing. We'll have a stream talk. We'll have a meta stream another time. So cool. So Layla, you want to, before we kind of jump into this, maybe kind of tell people a little bit about your background. I mean, obviously, I know you know .NET really well, but Infracode, Azure, Cloud, where's your jam?
Yeah, I'm very familiar with Azure. I've been using Azure since about 2014. So I've seen a lot of changes through that, the portal changing, and every time the portal changes, I'm like, no, I can't find anything again. So I've been through lots of iterations of that. I've tried other cloud providers, and I get very close to table flipping, so I always just end up going back to Azure. I guess it's the familiarity of what you know, and it's hard to go, well, why am I going to bang my head against the wall doing this thing when I can just do it with the tool I know? And it's hard to push yourself out of that comfort zone and get past that. So yeah, I mean, I'm a self-taught developer. Well, I've had lots of people teach me, but I have no formal education, I guess. Not even a boot camp, like so many people now. There weren't boot camps around when I decided to switch career and become a developer. Yeah, so kind of scrounge knowledge of everybody and anybody. Matty, you're muted. You're quiet.
I am. Okay. I'm super pro at this. I have so much to learn about streaming, as we've learned. I was just going to send a little tweet to kind of get people in here, but we'll get going.
You could do that. I took a screenshot to do that. Go on.
Oh, perfect.
I'll do a little. I'll do a chair party. I'm well known for my chair parties. Well, I think I'm well known for my chair parties. You send a tweet, and I'll do the chair party. I'm useless at DevOps, as I talk to lots of people. Anything I've done with CI/CD is red and angry, and I accuse people of saying, "Watch your count going down, Napalm." Yeah, thanks, Napalm. What with my chair? I'm not singing yet. That's the thing that makes people really leave the stream and their ears bleed.
We did, yeah. We had on Tuesday. There was no singing, even though it was my birthday, so that was fine.
I know. I could.
We had a lot of in chat celebrating, but
yes, there was cake.
Yeah, it wasn't. We'll have to wait a whole other year for that, though.
Yeah. I want to do in-person cake. I love cake, and it's always cake for me. There's always this cake versus pie thing, and pie to me is like steak and kidney. That's the thing. I guess what do you think of when you think of pie?
Oh, I think of one very specific pie, which is strawberry rhubarb pie, and that's my traditional birthday dessert, much to the chagrin of my younger sisters when I was growing up, is that they wanted there to be cake and I wanted strawberry rhubarb pie. And actually, I especially appreciate this year for my birthday, my kids, they know the story, and they had had their mom and had, my ex, they said, we want to get daddy a strawberry rhubarb pie. And so she went to Baker Square and got one for them to bring over. And we had that together, and it was, as was tradition.
Awesome.
Awesome. Yeah. So one of the things I think actually this, it's funny too. So like my Azure background is right around the same time. It was about 2013, 2014 is the first time I really started getting involved in Azure, and have, again, lots of things have shifted, and sort of the restructuring stuff. But one of the things that's pretty cool, I think, with Pulumi in this particular case where we're talking, right? Like, is in a scenario where you're like, okay, I know my programming language really well. This is where I feel comfortable, right?
Yeah.
And maybe I don't know, like, Layla, you've used Azure for a long time, but maybe you don't, right? Maybe Azure's new, maybe that particular cloud is new to you, and you're like, okay, so I need to learn that so I can get my stuff going. It's kind of cool to only have to learn one thing at least, right? And so what we're going to do here is kind of go through our getting started with Azure using Pulumi. And if this is new, and folks watching might know and or know or already not, but Layla, if we think about this, infracode stuff like this has been around for a long time. We've gone through lots of different types of iterations. There's things like Terraform. We had Ansible, or I shouldn't say had, Ansible still exists. There's Chef, there's Puppet, CF Engine, all this stuff. And one of the things we can do with Pulumi, so when we write a Pulumi program, which is the thing that's going to say, this is the infrastructure I want,
right?
Like I alluded to, we can write that in a real programming language. That could be, hey, Bash is a programming language. I'll tell you, I mean, I'm not going to argue. That's true. So it's okay. Pulumi doesn't have Bash as a language runtime, but you can write it in JavaScript. You could do Python, Go, or again, at .NET. Specifically right now C#, but you could do it in another other framework languages too. And that gives us a couple things that I think are interesting. One is, again, much easier. Like, we're going to be able to sit here and get this thing going, and you're like, you already know .NET, you know how to write a Pulumi program. But also, it's a real programming language that has things like conditionals and loops. What an idea, right? We can componentize things, right? We can bring in other packages, so like I can, and we're not going to get into that level of stuff, but like maybe I have a way that we want to get a container registry working within our Azure implementation, and I know what the good practices of that, but Layla just wants to use the couple parts of that matter to her. So I can create a package, I can create an implementation, and that's where that goes. But we're going to start with some kind of straightforward stuff and see how this is.
Alrighty.
See where we'll go. So a couple things we've already done, just for the interest of time. And Layla, we'll pop your screen up in just a second. So. Cool. Layla already has Pulumi installed on her machine. It's pretty easy to install. It's just not that exciting to watch. And but other than that, we haven't really done anything. We've also just made sure that Layla's machine is already connected to her Azure subscription, so that we don't have to show that, hey, Block and HD. Hey,
so that we don't dox myself.
Yes, exactly. We want to avoid that. So we're going to kind of start here, and one of the first things we need to do is we're going to create a new project for Pulumi. And we're going to call it, so we basically, a Pulumi project is just a folder with a bunch of stuff in it. So first we have to create the folder, and you can call this whatever you want.
Is this going to be like with the solution? Is this going to have
this is exactly the name of your project is going to be called this by default. So if you call it Quick Start or whatnot. Yes, I think I've seen that Azure Mask extension.
Yes, by Clarkio.
Every time I do something with the Microsoft folks on like DevOps Lab or whatever, they're always like, make sure you do this thing. We didn't want you to. We skipped that so that Layla doesn't dox herself, and also just because it's not that interesting to watch Azure log in through the portal, right? Okay, so I would say, make a directory called Quick Start.
Okay.
Or
I'm going to call it Pulumi.
If you want to go in a Pulumi, that's
fine. You see, my Thindle and Napalm and Fuel Snowball and Blocking HD all know that I'm the queen of docs. So that's why they're all laughing at me, because they know that I'm very good at doxing myself. Yeah, I even have a command, which is !docs, which brings me back out of my screen to my full thing in my virtual studio and has sirens going off and everything. So yeah.
I have in my OBS set up for when I was doing my live coding at the beginning of my Pulumi journey. I had gotten that from someone else. I'm misremembering, and I'll remember later whose streaming setup I saw. But yeah, to have like a scene that I had right in my stream deck to just push, that just was like boom, secret, like block everything. Okay, so we've got our new directory. Okay, go ahead and create. Are you in that directory now?
I am, yeah.
Okay, so we can very easily write all this stuff by hand, but we have a generator that will get us the beginnings of what we need. So we're going to use the Pulumi command. So you're going to type in Pulumi new, and we're going to, in this case now, before you go any further, you could do just this, but that's going to give you it doesn't know what language, doesn't know any stuff.
Right.
There's more than several different generators we could use to this point. In this case, we're going to use the Azure C# generator, which is going to be set up for Azure with C# as a runtime. So do Azure-C#. You could do just C#, and that would be a generic one. This is going to load the packages that we need for Azure as well. And go ahead and hit that. Oh, a great question in the chat. Go ahead and hit enter, and we'll sort of watch what's happening. Okay, so you're going to need to log into our backend. Now, this is probably a great place to hide
my screen.
Yep, we'll do that real quick while you're going to that. But I'm gonna talk real quick about the backends. So Pulumi has to have a place to store your state, because Pulumi is going to run. This is you're setting up your Pulumi account. See, I was going to show this, but that's okay. It's not that. Yeah. Oh, I get we can now.
We can. Just 1 second. Let me I do it in this one. Let me close all these. This is from earlier.
Yes.
Okay. Once I'm in.
Okay.
And I'll authorize that.
I think it's just going to kick you back. So what happened, the important part of what was just happening there is you can, when you sign up for your Pulumi account, you can use username, password. You can use lots of different OAuth. Use GitLab, GitHub, et cetera, et cetera. And what was just happening there was logging into. And the reason you need that, and you don't actually need to use the Pulumi service, but we need some place to store the state, which is saying, so when you run a Pulumi program, so it knows what state are your resources in. So it knows does have to do anything. One of the backends you can use is our service, which is easy because then you don't have to manage it. You can do self-managed backends if you want to put it in blob storage and S3, anything like that. That's out of our scope here. You should probably not have to go back to your command line for a second.
Okay.
So, so if you wanted to, if you hit enter here, this should, that'll give you and then if you can go back and log in the way you had logged in, which I think is fine.
Like that, and then we go here.
Well, but it's passing off to your, go back to the command line.
It's going to open.
Oh, because
the browser. I can do it in that browser. That just don't normally have.
It just didn't want to. Yeah, the other thing you could do is you could go create a token and paste it in. You're going to probably have to Control-C here, because now
I'm stuck.
Yep.
All right, come on,
we'll do it.
And
you can just run it again. It didn't do anything yet, so
okay, let's go. And I'll sign in. Come on, there we go. All right, I'll do it from here. We can come in here. And then
I'm hiding your screen right now.
So.
And Blocking HD, I'm going to answer your question about API support in just a second, because that's a really good one, and I have really good news. Cool. Okay. Well, while you're so the question came up. Like I said, does Pulumi automatically gain new API support as it's added to Azure? So it does. It does require new versions, but it's whatever the latest version. So our when we have a couple different kinds of providers in Pulumi, when we talk about a native provider, the native providers, which exist for Azure and Kubernetes and now for AWS, and also there's a GCP preview one. The Azure one is really mature. It's built from the API spec nightly. So as soon as there's a new feature in the API, within 24 hours, that's built and it's in Pulumi in the resource. Okay, so you were able to go ahead. Okay, if you go back to your command line. And okay, so now it's going to default to name the project after the directory we're in, which is totally fine. You can just hit enter here. If you want to give it a description, usually this is just for your own reference. So we usually just can enter through this. And then finally, it's going to talk about needing a stack. Now, a stack is an instance of your Pulumi program. And oftentimes they relate to maybe different environments. So the program may have different configuration. You have to have one to get started. The default first stack is dev. So you can just hit enter through this.
And would another one be like production?
Could be prod,
staging.
or sometimes... okay, and then because it's Azure native, you have to pick which location, whichever one you want is fine. West US is probably fine for our purposes. I mean, or UK South. Yep,
that's where I am.
And so now you'll see it's going ahead and it's determining all the dependencies that are going to be needed to get in that Azure native provider that just happened. And so if you take a look, we'll see that it installed those plugins, installed those providers, all the depths are there. So if we want to open this up now hey, Adam, old Red Hat pal. If you want to open this up in Visual Studio, or we want to take a look at the files, but we're going to, pull it into Visual Studio in just a second.
In here, and then...
But we can see all the things that it created.
So it's already built it because we've got the bin and the opt. And I see we've got my stack. All right, let's open this. What version of .NET did this build it in?
Well, it I believe that would be we require the 3.1 SDK or later. So it's gonna be whatever your default would be from the .NET command.
I'm gonna have to just change my screen here. Oh my god, I've just ruined it all.
To stretch it. Yeah.
Okay, right. I'm gonna I'll sort this out. It's just full screening. There we go. Okay. Alrighty. So I didn't need to save that. It's okay. There's another update. Yeah. Okay. Fine. All right.
Okay. So if we kind of look at these files that it generated, so there's Pulumi.yaml.
Okay.
Which I know we're using profanity by using the Y word here. But if we take a look at what Pulumi.yaml contains, that's really just sort of defining our project, which is not a whole lot of interesting things in it, but those are those bits. But it tells us the runtime, the name we had given it. Now, if you look at the dev.yaml, that's the specific configuration for this stack.
Okay.
So we can, and in this case, the only config value that exists is just what's the location for that. So you can see, if we had a different stack, maybe we would want that to provision into a different location. There's lots of more configuration that we might want to use, but that's that the stack YAML is sort of what's the configuration that might be specific to the stack. And then program.cs is if we take a look at that, it's a very simple entry point, which isn't doing a whole lot of super exciting things yet. But then if we look at my stack, that's our actual Pulumi program that's defining our resources.
Okay.
And what Pulumi is done because we use that scaffolding, it's these are some normal things you might want to start with. And you'll find as you use Pulumi, you're less likely to use the Azure one because you're okay, I'm going to want to do something specific. The language generator part, the language template, is more where that will come in a bit. Now, if we take a look at how this is working, so a couple things. So if you kind of look at the top, we'll see all the resources, all the providers, all the things that Pulumi is going to use. And because they're there, we're going to get all this stuff for free in our IDE as well, because it's going to know what to do with Pulumi things. And it's creating this my stack, which is subclass off of a stack. It's an instance of things.
Yeah.
And the first thing we want to do is because it's Azure, we need a resource group where things are going to happen. And so all we do there is we just say it's a new resource group. You can call it whatever you want. Now, one thing that's going to happen, you'll see Pulumi has by default an auto naming feature. So we're saying name that resource group Pulumi Quick Start. But you will see that when we create it, it's going to, in Azure, that resource group is going to actually be called Pulumi Quick Start dash, and there's an identifier.
Okay.
And the reason for that is to avoid collisions. So, so if you already have it now, you can override that because there are times when you say, no, I want it to be called exactly that.
Yeah.
But most of the time, this stuff is fairly, immutable, right? It's sort of like, it's not that it's throwaway, but you don't actually need to know its name. And part of why that's also powerful is because what we created here was an object. We can refer to its name programmatically. We don't actually have to know its name.
No, it could be
you
like
might want to
a
look
GUID.
at it. Yeah, exactly. And so the next thing we're going to do is, we need a storage account where we're going to put this stuff. And the same thing, it's we're able to sit down there and say it's a new storage account, and pretty straightforward pieces and parts. This is where these pieces are going to go. And then finally, we need to have the primary key of that storage account, because that's giving us that primary. It's exporting it. Now, why it's going to export that is with Pulumi, we have this nature of inputs and outputs. Okay?
Right.
So stack inputs, stack outputs. So an output is something that either you'll be able to get from the command line, which we'll see later, but you can also pass it around. So you might have a Pulumi program that, in this case, maybe it generates this storage account, and you might even have another program that says, I need to go to that stack that's associated and find out which one I'm going to use. So that's this is basically going to create an Azure resource group and the storage account, and then it's going to export the storage account's primary key, which is what that
one is, yeah,
down there under the output. And excuse me. And then, so if we wanted to do this here, we're going to just go ahead and run. We'll add some new code in a minute, but just to sort of see what's going to happen.
So I do have a question then. With a quick look at this, it's gone to .NET Core 3.1. So in this, was there a way that we could have specified that this is going to be .NET 6, for example? Is there like a way to specify the version when we create a new application?
That's a really good question. I don't have the answer, but I feel like I need to get it, because the version, though, where that came from was from the template. Remember when you did that quick start, or did the Azure C#? That's where that all got defined. So
so maybe that you don't have an updated template as yet.
Yeah, it could be, and I think that's a really good. I'm gonna take a quick look and see if there's a where the this is why it says as a version 1. Pulumi runs on .NET Core 3.1.
Okay.
So that's the default to that, and I think that's what's supported. But if you have obviously, yep, and Napalm says, yep, there is a. Oop, that's not what I meant to do.
Was that me doing that? I was trying to get that message.
No, that was me. That was me in Restream, where I'm trying to the Restream thing doesn't let me click on things. I wanted to go to that pull request, but it looks like there is a PR or an issue rather related to the .NET versions. Let's take a look here, because now I'm curious. One of the things I was telling Layla earlier before we started is that maybe my little New Year's resolution or thing I'm going to start working on in the new year is, I was going to say leveling up my C#, but it's not even level. It's been a decade, I would say, at this point, probably since I've written C#, not in anger, but just much at all. So, but we definitely could use some people on my specific team, on our DevRel team, who can speak to this. Okay, there, yeah. So .NET looks like the issue for this is our tracking issue for .NET 6. and it's just in progress. So we're getting there. That's
cool.
the short answer.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So if you go now back to your command line, this is why, like, I know you all use like real IDEs, and I use Visual Studio Code, so I just pop a terminal right inside it. But whatever you want to do to be able to see, because this is where we're going to run it. So if you run the command Pulumi space up, so this is going to evaluate the program. It's going to figure out what does it need to do, and if you were to, we don't need to do, but if you were to click on that link, that would show you everything we're seeing in the console. You would see that on the website. So if other, that's where you can see. So if we kind of scroll up just a second, we'll say it's saying right underneath there, it's telling us what it's going to need to do. So it's saying, okay, I need to, and I think you're missing a little bit on the right.
Yeah, 1 second. I can zoom out a little bit then, like that.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, it's okay. You should see the plan. Okay. The point of what's happening here is it's saying, what does it have to do? It says it has to create 3 resources. It has to create the stack, because we've never actually created the stack itself inside your SaaS account. It needs to create that resource group, and it needs to create the storage account. And if you were to look at your choices from your prompt, you can either say yes or no. But also, if you were to go to details and pick details, hit enter, this is going to actually show you exactly what it's going to do, right? So all the things. So if you wanted to dig in and say like, okay, it's going to create all this stuff. So if this is of interest to you, for all the nitty gritty of behind the scenes of what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And in this case, we're just going to go ahead and say, yes, let's go ahead and fire this up, right? It's going to go ahead and now it's actually running the Pulumi program. The other thing that preview does, which you can also get if you do Pulumi pre, what nobody does, because you can just Pulumi up and say no, is that's also where it generally is going to find out if you've got some problems in your code, because it has to actually evaluate the program. And then so once that is, where are we at? I think there's create. Perfect. Okay. So, and you can see that it outputted something called primary storage key. Now, what's interesting there, you see the value it says is secret. So when outputs are, so if you go back to your program.
Yeah.
And we look at where we exported the, do you see where it says output on line 27? It says output create secret.
Yes.
So since it made that a secret, that's saying when it's stored in your Pulumi setup, it's never going to reveal that. And it's also encrypted at rest, but mostly you'll never see it in updates and logs and things like that. And you have to explicitly say show secret when we go ahead and run them. So if you were to sit there and say, if we want to see what that key is, which we probably don't want to actually show because everyone else is going to see it, but you would I'm just going to have you not type enter when you run this in your command line.
Okay,
but I'll tell you what to type. But
I can already tell you, I've just opened up my resource group and I can already see it there. It's there. It's done it. I mean, that's so cool.
I mean, the upshot is we're gonna blow this away like within the next 20 minutes. So even if somebody like does grab your store that primary key on the storage account, it's not going to do them very good. But we're going to do something similar with this in our next setup. So we've got a storage account. Now we're going to do a thing that nobody does, but hey, we're going to feel like real web developers, and we're going to host a static website sitting in blob store in that storage account. We're going to throw an HTML file in there because that's the thing we all do all the time.
Of course.
Actually, you do. It's just not the way exactly that we're going to do it. So, so what we want to do there is, why did that just do? Okay, got it. Okay, so back in your project directory, the directory that we're in, you're going to create a new file. Just create an index.html.
Just in the root.
Just in the root. It's just a file. We're just gonna snap it as a file. Again, not necessarily a pattern we would do all the time, but it's uncommon, of course, that you would be storing your HTML content with your Pulumi program, but this is getting us where we want to get to. Okay.
That's okay.
Cool. And, HTML up, give it a title like Hello Pulumi, Azure Static Site. So there's actually some interesting stuff we can do with it. I've written some example code, not in C# yet, but then some of the other stuff I've done other languages with Azure Static Sites and stuff with Pulumi. It's kind of fun.
Well, I guess what we could do is with Blazor. WASM is like the latest static site thing. So I wonder if we can do that. That could be fun.
Got it. Okay, so cool. So we have our HTML. We're just going to use this file later is what's going to basically happen. But now we need to do a couple things on our back in our main Pulumi program in our MyStack.
Okay. And MyStack.
So right after we create the storage account. So let's see, where are we doing that? That's
here.
Yep. So right after that one, you can do it before we export the primary key. We need to enable static website support. So you're going to do var, and the way that, and this will be a good test for all of our type ahead stuff. So the same way that if you kind of see, and we'll call it, say, static website, sort of the same way that storage account is above, and it's going to be a new storage account static website, but which you can see, we can't see as well, but right. And then in the parameters, the first one is going to be the string, which is its name. Call it static website. Again, it's just sort of the resource name. And now, then you're going to do a comma, and you're going to do a new static website args. Yep. And then that's inside curlies.
Yeah.
And then the first one is account name, and it should start typing ahead. Yep. You got account name, and that's going to be storage account dot name. No.
Oh, yeah.
It's where we're getting the name from the storage account.
It's all typed. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the next one is the resource group name. And
which we can get the same as well.
Yep. Oh,
and that was,
looks like you're yep. It was already, I thought it was even prompting you for it. I was seeing
it may have.
Yep. .name.
Oh,
and then, yep. And then the last one is going to be the index document.
Okay.
And then that's a string that's just index.html. So these are just when you are enabling static website support on a storage account in Azure, these are the things you'd have to tell it. You'd have to say, like, this is where this goes, and that you're telling it what index that you should be default.htm, default.asp if you're old school like me. Although I guess index.html is probably the most oldest of schools. Okay, and then let's see, and your curly, do that. Okay, so this now we want to use all these resources, and we're going to add a local file asset.
Okay.
And we're going to upload that index.html into the storage container. So now you're going to sit and you're going to do, you're going to create another var, and you're going to do index_html. Is just what we're going to call this this file.
Index underscore.
Yeah, or I'm sorry, capital. Yes, camel case it. We're doing this right. Well, or maybe index. Yeah.
Index. Yeah, you see, you've blown me out. Like, I don't even know what I'm. What
it's just referencing. It's just going to be the file object that we're doing here. It's
What did you want to call this?
Call it index HTML, like as one word. It's a goofy yeah. And this is a new blob is what we're doing here. Okay. So you'll do a new blob, and then the parameters on this, print it, and then the first one is index is a string of just index.html because it's the file that we're talking about, and that's its name. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to do a comma, and you're going to do a new blob args, just like we had the Yep. And then these are, you can see the first one there. It's already prompting you properly. It's a resource group. Yep. So we'll go ahead and give it the,
Okay.
And the next one is the account name. So that's, again, this is going to be very similar to the one we did before.
It thinks it's storage account name. Is that right?
Yes, it is. Yeah, okay. That's the storage account, the name of the storage account. And then we're going to do, now the next one is container name. And this is that static website thing we created before. So this is going to be static website dot container name. If you get that thing we created, yep, and then dot container name, yep. And then the source, so you'll do source equals, and it's a new file asset. And in paren, oh no, that's just going to be in parens. It's just one argument, and it's just in parens the string index.html. And then the final thing is we just have to set the content type. So there's one more parameter, one more argument rather, which is content type.
Oh, and in this file asset?
In there. Yep. Or no, not in the file asset, after the file asset. It's still part of the blob arg. It's a blob. One of the blob args is content type. And that's just a string text/HTML. Now, the last thing we want to do is just the same way we were able to export that primary key, we might want to kick out the that storage container that we created, its URL, so we can get to it really easy.
Right.
So where you saw, so after they export the primary key, you will say you're going to do a this, and it's going to be static endpoint. You can do it. Yep, right there is good. Is that in the same? Yep, that's perfect. Yep. So just do this. Do static endpoint. Yep. You're creating a new. So it's just,
okay.
Yeah, it's not going to type ahead that.
All right. Okay.
But it looks just like the same casing that primary storage key is. Just do that with static endpoint. And then that is you'll do equals. That's a storage account. Lowercase store. It's the resource. It's the store. It's
the variable one, the instance of it. Yeah.
Yes. Dot primary endpoints should come up for you. Dot apply. And then in paren, this is so an apply is basically sort of almost like a transform. So it's going to be inside those parens. You're going to do primary endpoints, lowercase p, and then capital E. Yep, primary endpoints.
Okay.
And then do like a hash rocket arrow guy.
Hash rocket.
Well,
okay.
An
expression. Okay.
Yep. And then this is the Ruby coming out of me, right? Primary endpoints dot web. And that should be inside that paren. It should have the semicolon at the end of all of that, right? What does it not like about static endpoint there?
Yeah, this is what I was going to ask you. So this.
Oh, there's one more. Oh, because we have to do something with it. Okay. Go down where the output is. You see how there's that public output?
Yeah, that's what I was.
You need to do the exact same thing as that. But then put the.
Yep. I'm with you.
Yeah.
I was kind of like, I don't like this, and we probably don't need this.
I believe you.
That's old school.
Because
that's why I was like, when you were saying this, and I was like looking for IntelliSense, I'm like,
yeah,
but where's it getting this from?
That's fair. I'm looking at some of the comments now here.
I feel Snable is a troll and needs to get back onto that bridge.
It's engagement.
Yes. Naughty people.
So now we've got we got that saved off, right? And let's go back to our terminal.
You want to do that again?
Do Pulumi up again.
Okay.
So what's going to happen here? Yeah, already refactoring. That's what. Hey, I'm taking notes here. I may have to go do some cleanup in our getting started here. Mikhail's going to be real mad. So we'll see a couple things changed. So if we scroll up just a little bit, see what we can see.
We've got an endpoint. Yeah.
Yep, it's saying that's a new thing. There's a new output, and it said there are 2 things to create, and 3 things were unchanged. So it doesn't. It says, again, it didn't have to change our storage account. It didn't have to change our resource group, but it's like, okay, there's a new thing. So it's going to do those 2 new things. So if we go ahead and say, sure, knock it out. Let's run that thing. Let's see what's up.
And then is this going to be our
If you could go to that, like if you wanted to, that'll show you the same thing we're seeing here.
Oh, okay, that's for this. And then
yeah, that's right. And I'll show you how we're going to get that output in just 1 second. Well, you
okay.
could have stolen it from there,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
there's an even slicker way to do it.
Okay.
Because what if you needed to get it later and you were not in the preview anymore, right?
Then I don't know what I'd do. I'd have a
Right.
panic.
Well, I'm going to show you what we're going to do. Cool. Okay. So now, go ahead and just type in curl space, and then just do dollars. We're going to interpolation, do shell interpolation. So just do and then in paren, Pulumi stack, or no, and Pulumi space stack space output, and then space, and then capital static endpoint. The name of that output, right? Static endpoint. Yeah. Oh no! Don't
I
type it in.
I know. I didn't want to do that. I was
I think that was just in your clipboard. Yeah, still.
It was in my clipboard, and because I thought I had
Oh.
the other one. Do I have it? There we go.
Okay, and go ahead and fire that up.
Alrighty. Go. Wait. Why does that? I don't need to know about the weather right now.
Oh, okay. Well, this is a curl problem, but it would have worked. You could also do what you could do. iExplorer, is that the command line for browser? What's the latest command line for the browser? Just open. Can you do that?
I don't know.
Let's try it.
What's chat say? Open what?
Just open. Well, no. I mean, that's not. So this is, again, we're talking old school. What did I say? If I wanted to launch the browser on a Windows machine from the command line, it's iExplore. But I'm betting there's a command. There's got to be. Well, does iExplore work? What happens if you? No, not Explorer. Just Explore. Oh, start. Okay, I trust you, Adam. So do start. Okay, but don't. No. Command C. Or Control C. Jeez, what am I on? Okay, but now we know the right thing. Yeah, perfect. That'll open an Explorer window. What'll open like an Edge window? There's got to be a way to do it. Let's I don't know. Try Edge. Does Edge work in your path? What does that do? Nope. Yeah, I know. iExplore was Internet Explorer. That was my point, Adam. Is that it was old school. Geez, this is so. For the record, if you're playing along at home, this is not by any means any kind of like OS holy war, but just so you know, a fun fact, because I didn't actually know this till a while ago. If you type in a Mac, an OS 10, if you type in open space and then a URL, it will open Safari.
Oh, will it?
So try start, and then, but don't just type. Don't just hit it now. Go do that string interpolation again with the $sign.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Let's pass the URL to start. Oh, wait. Okay, yeah. Replace curl with start. Let's see if Adam is right.
Alrighty.
See what's up, Clater.
Come on then, Adam. Is that Mike? Should I press play?
Why did we create a UI? Yeah, press enter. Let's see what happens. Hey.
Oh,
there we go. So that worked. Clater, my hero. So that kind of got us where we were going to go there. And then if we wanted to, if you want to go back to your code a little bit, we can see if there's anything we wanted to. So actually, this is fun. Go back to your index.html document and just change something in here. Like, you could say hello, hello Twitch. Right, perfect. Save that and then go do a Plumi up again. And
I could have typed it quicker than I could press it, but it's like
the thing I'm with you. Once you're invested,
up.
You're invested in the up scroll, right? Yeah. Clater says it loves that the Red Hat guy's the one who remembers the Microsoft commands from 20 years ago. So you can see it had to replace. So it's saying there's a difference in that index file, which you could say no if you want. We don't actually have to run it. We can. It's up to you if you want to run it. And see what happens.
I'm in it. I'm here.
Yeah,
we're going.
Let's do it.
We're doing it. And then once it's done, I'm going to do this start.
Now we know what to do. Yeah.
Thingamabob, whatever that is.
Hey, Clater, how do I open a browser inside of OpenShift? We're gonna throw. What's the command line for that one?
So blocking HE says
Yes.
there's an arm to Pulumi. Would love to see what
Yes.
that does.
Yeah, so there's a couple different things because maybe you've already got stuff in ARM, maybe you have Terraform you've written. We have a whole bunch of different converters that will, again, like any other automated thing like that, it's not gonna do everything for you. We just lost Adam.
Trolls.
It's not gonna get you everywhere, but it's a great start. Kind of we'll get there. You're gonna definitely have to do a little tweaking to make sure that it's exactly what you're expecting. Yeah, I'd be interested to see what ARM2Pulumi does with compiled Bicep. I need to do some playing with Bicep myself as the config. I should say config management nerd. We don't talk about config management anymore. We just. Oh, it's funny. So Stable says, ask me about calm apartments and MTS. So the reason that message is funny to me is because the last time, as I told Layla, like when I were on her stream, the last time I worked with .NET was when I was running tech ops for apartments.com, and MTSs are my initials. So that all just jumped out at me for like all the wrong reasons, those letters together. Cool. So what we can do, I guess the last way we'd sort of wrap this up is we might want to get rid of the things that we have created. And that's pretty easy to do that. And all you need to do is just type in Pulumi destroy.
Oh, okay. I was like, is it going to be Pulumi down?
No, it's just Pulumi destroy. I have been known to in my shell to alias Pulumi YOLO to Pulumi up -y, which is where it won't do the preview. So it's going to tell you what it's going to get rid of, which is everything. That's what we would expect.
Okay. All right, and I'm gonna
now. What it's not going to do. Notice it's not going to get rid of your stack, which is just Pulumi's understanding of that there is such a thing that exists. And that's by design because you might want to destroy the cloud resources, but bring them back up again, right? Within your a new instance of them. You have to be pretty clear that you want to get rid of the stack, which is the next thing that we're going to do to clean up after ourselves.
Now I'm just looking. If I click on the Pulumi Quick Start, it says resource not found. So that's already gone in my Azure portal.
Sure. Yes, it went. It got rid of all those things. But like it says, the resources were deleted, but the history and configuration are still maintained. So if you go back to your browser, if we go back to Pulumi, I think if you just go to app.pulumi.com, will get us what we want to see. I just want to kind of show people where the destroying the storage accounts is a little bit scary. Well, as long as you don't really care what's in it, it's totally fine. So go to projects.
Yeah.
Okay. So there is that Pulumi project that we had created. So if you were to click on the dev on that stack and look at it, you can see the last thing that happened was destroyed. But if you go to activity, at the top, we can see all those times you did a Pulumi run, what happened. And if you were to dig into, you can see a lot of details. We can see, okay, this is what it did. This is what it changed. You have all this history of the things that it was able to do. And a lot of this is just going to look like what we were seeing in the command line. But this is then giving us that ability if we're working on a team or we just sort of want to see the thing that we had done before. And that said, just from one petabyte bucket when working with AWS, that would be a discussion if you lose it. Yes, that is why you don't Pulumi YOLO like I do. You always let it tell you what it's going to do before you do it, because then that's on you. We try not to give you a foot gun, but sometimes I'm sorry, you're gonna what you do. So if we go back to our command line now.
Yeah.
And then the last thing you're going to want to do is probably just get rid of the stack because you don't need it anymore in this particular case. So if you just do Pulumi space stack space RM for remove, right? We're just going to remove the stack. Oh, no, just RM. Yeah. Oh, no. There you go.
Yeah.
Isn't it great to type? It's great to type when everyone's watching, right?
I know.
And it's like, are you sure? Are you sure? We are sure. So type in dev and it's gone. So it's like we did nothing.
So if I now come into here and I refresh, this should all be like,
it's all it's
I
gonna
don't
actually
oh.
yeah, you're gonna 404 now because Bluey's like, you just rewrote history there. Yeah.
I love all your rainbows and
Yeah.
sort of like your clouds of rainbow. I love it. I love it. Sorry, I just had to tell you that. That's very attractive to me, rain clouds.
I'm into it. It's good. So yeah, so that kind of got us through where that went, and this was clearly kind of a very simple implementation, right? We created a bucket, but we can do and pretty much any resource you could think of that you might want to do in Azure. So if you're creating container, app plans, I've done workshops where we're doing things like that. You can get VMs going all sorts of different places. One of the things that's neat, and maybe it'd be fun to do something in the future, is we also have something called the automation API. So you sat there and you were running at the command line, but you can actually put all the Pulumi stuff into your application, and it will run Pulumi inside of there. So one of the interesting places that we've seen people do that you might want to do is maybe you want to create a portal, right? Where people go in there like, I need to get a deployment going, and I'm going in through a web interface. And so like I've done a workshop before where we write like a Python Flask app, which is, but in that Flask app, you're doing a Kubernetes deployment. Use that app to go through this web portal to go and do a Kubernetes deployment. So that API thing is it's getting away from just running at a command line, but being able to embed it inside of your whole workflow. And you can do, of course, all sorts of fun things with like GitHub Actions or where your builds go to that. So there's a lot of capability. Want to take a quick... So I think we hit all the kind of questions that people had. And all of the trolling got handled.
I brought my trolls with me, just in case you didn't have any. I brought them with me. It's fine.
Yes, that's good. It's your entourage of trolls.
I love you all, all my little trolls.
So as we kind of wind up, are there any? I know you did a stream. This is your second stream of the day, so there's not another stream today for you, right? Or did I get it back?
I hope not. There better not be, because I haven't hit the monster today. Which is quite a rare thing for me. Normally it's like Monster. I'm like a walking advert for Monster. I haven't had one today. I have had an awful lot of coffee. This one that I was brought just before we went live was a decaf, so it's okay. But yeah,
given the way you jumped when it was brought to you, it's probably good it was decaf because
nobody saw that. My coffee came, like most people know that my coffee comes from that side. And then it came from that side and whistled at me, and I nearly fell off my rocking chair, so it wasn't good.
I not want to say converted. I did have a couple years when I had a pretty severe Monster habit where I was buying it by the case, and now I just buy Diet Coke by the case. So, there's 3 cases of Diet Coke sitting next to my desk right now.
Well, I have Pepsi Max. That's my thing. I buy that in 2-liter bottles in cases of 8, and I stack them in my garage. Thank goodness for Costco. And I do buy cases of Monster Ultra, the white one.
That's it. That was the same one that I drank.
That's my favorite.
It's the best one.
I did get some Monster Mule. I have to get that from the supermarket, and it's more expensive. I can't just buy it by the case from Costco.
Which one is that?
Oh, it's like a Moscow Mule. So it's ginger beer and lime without the vodka. And it's
you have to bring that yourself.
Yeah. So but that one's really good as well, and that one's sugar free as well. So I do like the Monster Mule, and it comes in a black can with like rose goldy lettering. So I'm here for the look of it. I'm here for the taste of it. I'm here for the energy kick it gives me, And I didn't have Monster Coffee Fuels Navel. No. This was an espresso decaf. So trying to wind down before bed.
Perfect. This is perfect. Well, I thank everybody who came and joined us on the stream today. Go ahead and mash that follow button, not the subscribe button. Unless you're watching it on YouTube, then
subscribe on YouTube. Yes,
push all the buttons. We'll be back. Well, I will. Layla won't, but we'll do another one. The same time next week, I've got Dan Mayer from Datadog is going to be on, and we're going to be doing some Pulumi configuration of Datadog with fun, and we're going to be doing that in Go. So
Okay.
those of you who have tuned in the last couple of weeks and we're upset that all I do is write TypeScript and wanted to see some Golang, we will be doing some Go next week, and we will see. Yeah, so tune in next week. If you don't already follow Layla on Twitter, you can follow me on Twitter at Matt Stratton, and we will.
So if you don't already follow me, follow you.
That's true. Well, at least follow one of us, right?
Follow both of us.
Yes, yeah. Follow both. Just follow everybody. That's just everybody should follow every. There's just, by the way, is also inherently linguistically that whole concept is just a really creepy choice of words. Just
going
following
to
people
follow
around.
you. I have 1,000 followers today that I'm following. Like I'm actually following 1,000 people. Like
on Twitch or
on Twitter.
On Twitter.
On Twitter. Yeah.
I'm like at like 1,500, and I sort of hover around there because that's manageable
really go over
to me.
1,000. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've used lists sometimes, but I also, it always just kind of, I don't have a strict place of it,
No. But yeah, and you're going to come on my stream, aren't you, in the new year? And
yeah,
I'm going to brush you up on some .NET 6 skills.
That'll be fantastic. I'm
we
really
can
excited about it.
Munge it all together. I'm excited too. That's great. And because it's an absolute pleasure to stream with you, Matty. Thank you.
So good. Well, everybody have a great rest of your day, rest of your evening, and we will see you on the internet.